to My Stock Scanner Live, powered by the 3-Point Playbook. We're here to tell you that investing doesn't have to be stressful, and we try to keep it simple because we ask 3 questions for every stock. Is it a quality company? Does it have an upside? And is now the right time to buy? We try to give clear answers, confident choices, and peaceful nights. The answers, they come from Hans-Henrik Nielsen and Liam Flavel, both seasoned investors and experts in the financial markets. My name is Jesper Behrens. I have the easy part because I'm the man with the questions. And some of them, they come from you if you send us an email at fomo@mystockscanner.com. And do we have a jam-packed show for you today? Well, I can promise you have. But let me start with the two of you, because this is a day where we get a lot of numbers and we see stocks jumping up and down as the numbers pour in. Liam, a strategy for days like this, what should that be?
To be honest, there are 2 things. One of them is we've got a plan, we stick to it. So we're not that worried about sort of the internal volatility that happens day in, day out. Also diversification. Our 3-Point Playbook stock strategy is in 40 stocks. A 10% drop is only about 0.25% to our whole portfolio. So we're relaxed.
Yeah. And on Mondays, when we broadcast the show, we broadcast Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Monday, we opened up the 3-Point Playbook portfolio. We did that, of course, on Monday and could see that it was more than 32% up. But Hans-Henrik, you have been around stocks since, I think it was 1987. You got your stock quotes a day late in the newspaper because you're back from when you got dirty fingers reading the stock exchange because of the print in the paper. Your strategy for a day like this?
Well, a thing to remember is that people are afraid of a crash. But just remember that the big crashes, the big bear markets, they don't come in a day. That's a process over weeks and months. So we get plenty of warning signs. Of course, there can be drops in a day, but don't panic.
And a drop like that, that's what we saw during COVID. That was days where it took really a dive.
Oh, yeah, that was within a week or 2. We were down 35% from an all-time high. It has never been seen before. Probably will take a while till it happens again, so don't worry.
On the show today, it's a huge day. We've got numbers from Novo already, Vestas, Pandora, and Amber. We're going to dive into those. And overseas, we can look back at numbers from last night from AMD. I know one of our users have a question in regards to AMD. We'll get to that. But also, we'll take a look at Uber. And yesterday, we asked in our Tuesday poll about your fave Warren Buffett quote. We have the result here today on our Wednesday watch list. And then we'll also be watching Trump and tariffs as they go to the Supreme Court. And also in our line of sight, as always, the number of the day. And it's a big one today, gentlemen. $730 billion. What it is in regard to, we will tell you later. And we know there's a lot of new viewers because we premiered an Action Snack. So for our seasoned viewers, we'll ask, bear with us. We're going to take things nice and slow when we open up the 3-Point Playbook and show it in a detailed way. But Hans-Henrik, let's start with, I'm going to say, the elephant in the room. It's not meant like that because it's a donkey or it's a goat or whatever it is. That's in the logo. So let's talk about Novo Nordic because at the beginning of the trading today, they really took a Wegovy pill and slimmed down in a hurry. What did their weight go to? 300 or something like that?
Let's just have a quick look. We were looking at it, you and I, this morning, and if we just take a chart here with live data on, if you're not used to looking at these data, then this is a candle for a day. And this means that the price started down here in the bottom of this body. It was a bit further down. It was actually just touching on the 300, and then it went up and it has gone a bit down again. We were talking about there must be a lot of the so-called limit orders down here where people are saying, okay, if it drops on the earnings, we want to buy down here. So there are probably a lot of people that have gotten a good deal this morning. I'm not sure it will continue straight up from here. But I think most of the bad news in the earnings were priced in already. They have been good at communicating a lot of it.
Can I ask you one question in regards to the 300? Because one thing is that it touched the different lines, whether it be 50-day moving average or 200, or even that bottom like you have drawn in here at 280. But there seems to be psychology around 300.
Yeah, there is, but there's nothing magic in it, and you can't say a strict thing for all stocks. But there are some stocks where there's some round numbers, 300 or 500 or 1,000 or something like that. That tends to be a place where, okay, I need to set my target somewhere. Why not at a round number? So there is a bit of that, but I haven't been able to find some solid research on it.
If we then look, I looked at the numbers just now and saw it's 1% up still, so we're in the green again after being in red. But if we want something that's really green, I'm almost going to say spring green, then we just look to Vestas. A jump, 14.5%, and it's basically kept that number for, I'm going to say, the entire morning.
Yeah, this jump here is insane. Again, a candle you can see here. It gapped up as it's called, for where it closes down here and then gaps up. There's nothing between there, and then it goes up and down a bit. This one is a bit annoying because if you look at it, we have looked at it in our 3-point playbook, and if you're new to the show, our 3-point playbook is where we ask ourselves 3 questions before we can buy a stock. And the first question is this a quality company? Is this a company we would like to own if we were to own the whole of it? And the quality score on Vestas here is a bit low, but that is because they had a couple of rough years back in, I think it was 21, 22, where they lost some money, and that can be seen here. But we can see that the earnings per share is going up. That is also colored green here in the background, meaning that it fulfills our criteria. We can see the revenue is going up. We can see that the so-called PEG ratio, that is where we look at the money they earn right now compared to the growth expected in the future, that actually looks really good. Their return on the different capital measurements here also starts to tick up. Basically, it's a good, solid quality company. So nothing wrong there. When we look at this, we of course also look at some major factors like what's happening in United States and so on, and that is where the earnings today was a positive, one of the positives, because they actually, it showed that they had some really good sales in US, even though Trump is doing his best to kill off some of this green tech sector here. When we go to the next question, that is there a good potential in the stock? And in that, we go to our value chart. And for those, again, that are new, we have an entire course here under the Learn section, and that is free. You can just go in and see how we analyze stocks. But what we do in a value chart is that we take a look at what are the analysts thinking about the estimates for the earnings in the future. Then we are multiplying that with certain what's called PE numbers, price earning. That is basically just telling how much risk are the investors willing to take, how much will they pay for a profit of a dollar profit. So when we get that in here, we have a PE numbers from 18 and up to around 27, 28 here. Then that gives us 3 different potential outcomes. And it's not a prediction because no one knows where stock will be in a year or two, but it shows us that we have quite a good potential here between 8 and 62%. So we have actually been talking about, should Vestas be something we considered? But that leads us to our question number 3, is now the time to buy? And in here, we are doing a bit of technical analysis. And the other day, you can see I draw that arrow here. We were looking at it as a potential buy here when the 3 of us were talking about it. But since earnings came in today, we didn't take it because we never buy into earnings. That is a bit annoying since it went up here. You can see that yellow circle here is where I draw a potential the other day and said this could actually go up here, and it basically did that in one jump. That is one of the annoying parts sometimes of being a bit.
Yeah, but I'll give you your own windmill, and it comes right here, and then you can see the money flying around that windmill. That means if we take gotten it, that's what we have been looking at today, but we didn't. And that's what it is. And one of the things that we always talk about, and you guys are the experts, I ask all the questions, but that is, don't worry, there'll always be another stock.
Loads.
There's always something else coming.
We've got 300 on our watch list.
Exactly. And talking about other stocks, we have two that came with earnings last night after closure of the American market. A bit of, I won't say a mixed bag, but it also was number-wise. Liam, you've been awfully quiet, but you're our tech guy. You're up here. Uber and AMD. Users have been asking how to read AMD. They broke basically all estimates, and still stock went down in aftermarkets.
They did, and we had a question earlier on about it. Just looking at AMD, and it knocked it out of the park. I mean, everything was up 30, 40, 50% on last quarter and last year, so they've had a fantastic return. As you can see, just from their playbook, the first question is this a quality stock? Everything is in green, and you can see the quality score over here is actually 93, rather than the lower value investors. That's because they've been consistently a quality stock. The real issue for AMD overnight is the analysts. They look at something called gross margin, which is how much of your revenues divided by your cost of goods sold, that comes out as percentage, and the higher the better, because it means that you're much better at using money that you earn to turn into goods or turn into services you give. And AMD have been a bit punished because they only hit the analysts' guidance on that, and analysts what they thought it was going to be. So there are quite a few analysts out there who hoped it was going to go higher. So what you find with these sort of companies, they've just had massive orders from OpenAI, from Oracle. What they're going to have to do is really run fast to actually ramp up their production. And a lot of the time you see their costs going up because of that, because they're hiring more people, maybe bringing more machinery, using more energy. So when you're in a rush, when everything you're putting everything into it, the efficiencies tend to go out. So that's what people are watching with AMD. If we look very
I was going to say, if we go further down, the thing is that is the potential in it.
Definitely. And that's what I was quite surprised about, actually, because it's had a hell of a run. It's up 58% since the beginning of September, and it's up 107% this year to date. Took a drop yesterday. We're now up, but if you look at the value chart over here, you can see that we're actually, for the end of the year, which is only a couple of months, there's actually quite a drop potentially. But most people are starting to look at the numbers for next year. And the numbers for next year we've got in here look like a 14% upside as the minimum in our model, and maybe a 65% upside for AMD if they hit everything right.
As said, it is a huge day. We're going to come to Pandora and Ambu in just a bit. But before we do that, I mentioned Uber as the other stock that you were taking a look at, Liam. And I know that you have your Tech Thursday where you go in depth with various tech news. I'm not sure this is going to be part of that tech news because, again, there's simply so much news. But what was the numbers on Uber?
The numbers, again, they had a very good set of numbers coming out. And people are struggling to understand why they've gone down because, they hit it out the park again. All the numbers are pretty good out there. They missed, when you look at adjusted earnings, they missed on that very slightly. And that actually sort of takes out some of the future income that may not be repeated. And that's what they call adjusted earnings. So analysts were a little bit disappointed on that one, but it was a very small miss. The key thing that they came out with was their robo-taxis might take a few years to become profitable. And I think analysts are struggling with the calculation of, is a few years 2 or 3? Is it 10? Is it never? So that's why it's getting marked down at the moment. But Uber was great because actually we had it until a couple of weeks ago. I think we came out, didn't we? We made 40% on it over a couple of months. So we came out just here when the stock crossed the green SMA, the 50-day moving average line, which is normally the level that we need to come out of these stocks. If it breaches it and stays down there, then that's our signal to come out.
And again,
it's been a good decision so far.
Yeah, and it's all about strategy and sticking to it, even though that it looks tempting to stay in it sometimes and say, well, it'll bounce, and it'll never bounce, it just keeps dropping. One of the things that we have to touch up on the show, as said, because we have so many news, and this is a bit of a macro news things. Hans-Henrik, Trump, not in person, because there was a little bit of doubt that if he was going to show up at the Supreme Court, but he's not. He's going there to defend his tariffs, because are they in obstruction with the law, or what's the deal here? It's all happening.
Well, it might come as a surprise to you, but I'm not an expert on U.S. legal matters. It seems like there is something in the law, especially since U.S. were based on actually getting rid of a king that wanted more tariffs and tax. However,
it's a good one.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Anyway, Trump said we want tariffs, Liberation Day. There was a lower court coming in here in May saying that is absolutely illegal. You have to have the Congress in this process. And of course, he made an appeal for that. So today they are starting hearing arguments about back and forth. There is a Supreme Court. There is a 6-3 in his favor. You could see Republican favor. However, I almost hope that they say it's illegal, because if it say it's illegal, then Besant went out yesterday saying, oh, we have lots of options. There are 8-10 different loopholes that we can, and then they will spend the next, year finding all sorts of different new tariff loopholes, meaning no one will know what they can invest after or trade after, and that will just be, sorry to say, a shit show again.
We'll keep an eye out for you, and we will post on our platform and in social medias when news and stuff like this arise. And because it also have an effect on Danish stocks, in that sense that I think it was Ambu that disappointed grossly, I'm almost going to say a Trump word here, bigly, because they're down more than 15%, and they blame tariffs. And of course, they also say, well, there's something about the currency that they are struggling with here, and that's why they didn't hit the numbers. Apart from that, Pandora, which is also down, it almost seems mediocre because it's only 2.8% currently, but still they're down.
Yeah, absolutely. If we just take a very quick look at Ambu, this is a drop today. And I was just looking at it. And yes, there is a bit of a lower sales growth and the margins are a bit lower. And yes, that is probably because of tariffs and of currencies. If we look at it overall, it actually looks fairly okay. There is something about the return on capital, but earnings per share and revenue is going up, and looking at the value chart, it actually looks like there is quite a decent upside. So it might be an overreaction today, to be honest.
That's at least how we see it. Then the other one that shines a little bit more, Pandora, again, one of the stocks that's really touched and torched by tariffs when it comes to it, because silver and gold prices are going up on that. Apart from that, the tariffs. What's the deal with Pandora?
Well, that is right. They're hit on a lot of different fronts. As you said, there is gold and silver. There is a big part of their product. There is tariffs. They have a lot of stuff produced in, I think it's Thailand, and they are some of the ones that are being taxed quite heavily from Trump. So it is a good quality company, definitely. And depending on how you put the PE numbers, I think there's a lot of potential in it, but we should always be careful. That goes for Pandora, for Vestas, and so on. There is that joker in the card game that is saying Trump and tariffs, so we should be a bit wary of them.
When we talk about keeping your cool and sort of staying within reasons, there's one guy, and we had his quotes up for Tuesday's poll, that he was one of the persons who really perfected that game, in that sense that two of the quotes, the favorite quotes from our users, is rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, never forget rule number 1. And then the other one, we simply attempt to be fearful when others are greedy, and greedy when others are fearful. I know, Hans-Henrik, you're going to write more about Warren Buffett, and we'll get into those quotes and what they mean. But for you guys, If you should guess, Liam, would Warren Buffett be out vacuuming a stock like Ambu today or Uber because everybody's selling it?
It's difficult to know. When he does move, he tends to move, with deals that no one else can hit. I remember back in 2008 to 2009, he was hoovering up insurance companies, you name it. He could get it, and he could get it at far cheaper prices. So he's a master at picking up good value stocks. And we often think that he's looking at our value charts because he tends to agree with what we say quite a lot.
Yeah, that's good to know. I know one of the stocks we have been talking about in regards to him, and he tries to stay away from things technical unless there's a dividend in it. Strategy is one of the stocks that really has taken a beating lately. Liam, would that be something for Mr. Buffett?
Definitely not. I mean, definitely. Warren Buffett doesn't say too much about crypto. I know he doesn't like it, but Charlie Munger, who died recently, it was his partner in crime for about 3,000 years, I think it seems at the moment. He just hated crypto and couldn't see any value in it because it's just there is no store of value in there or anything. We've already got a currency set up for these sort of things. That's changing slightly with tech, but you can see, it's just been on a downturn for quite a while now. And pretty much since Hans posted his article a few months ago.
I've heard they're changing the ticker. I've heard they're changing the ticker symbol to Ponzi.
Yeah,
it could be. And Henrik, you get the last word here on our Wednesday watch list, which is the quotes from Warren Buffett. You're working on an article on Warren Buffett, who retires at New Year, but this was his final earnings thing.
Yeah.
What stands out to you about Warren?
Well, time. He's been in the game for forever. He's one of the few that have stuck to it. Even though he got insanely rich, he didn't just buy an island and sit there. And it's many of the quotes are just evergreens, like everybody is a genius in a bull market and so on. There's a string of them. I'm doing an article today about his quotes, which I like best and so on.
We will see that. That's our Wednesday watch list. I mentioned a number in the beginning, and it could have been the value of Warren Buffett, but it isn't. $730 billion. That's what vanished from the market yesterday, and it was not a big fall, let's just say that. It's still not the biggest amount being wiped out ever in the stock market in the US. That was $2.93 trillion. It happened on March 16, 2020. As a matter of fact, the top three, if we go value dates, are all from COVID time. Interestingly enough, we go back to the 80s, 1987, October 19, 500 billions more than or less than what was wiped out yesterday was number 5 on the chart. Hans-Henrik, you as a good student, you put up your hand.
Yeah, I've been there. 1987. I just started investing. It took me about a week, though, to find out there had been a crash because there was no internet. I had to find an old paper that said it.
I thought you started investing when you were in your 14. That must have been in your 30s, mustn't it, in 87?
Well, we're not going to go there. I think that it's time that we wrap up the show for today in that sense. Remember that there will be more numbers in that sense after the market today. Costco, Toyota, McDonald's, AppLovin, Qualcomm, ARM, Hood, a lot of numbers coming. And then surprise, surprise, we have an economic number coming out, ADP numbers. Hans-Henrik, for people who doesn't know what it is that we're looking for in the ADP?
Well, it's basically just an organization counting how many new private job that is created in US. We normally don't look too much of it because we have non-farm payrolls that come on Friday. There is a big number, but due to the shutdown, we're not getting anything there. So we have to settle for the ADP. That will be interesting to see today.
And we definitely keep an eye out for all of these numbers and comment on them on our social media, but also at our platform. And remember, you're more than welcome to ask us questions, especially if there's something where you don't understand. And there's nothing like a stupid question. I'll ask those, don't worry. So write us at fomo@mystockscanner.com. That's it for today's My Stock Scanner Live. Remember, investing doesn't have to be complicated. Just put your stocks through 3 questions. Is it a quality stock? Does it have an upside? And is timing right? That's what we do. Save time, make smarter choices, and sleep easy with mystockscanner.com. I'll see you guys on Friday. Until then, happy investing, everyone.